It's about that time. Yeah, position my microphone there. Okay. I know. I'm late. Get your licks in now. Ugh. Not by that much. I'm only late by about 10 minutes, which is good. Didn't know you were trying to live stream right now. Yeah, I was going to stream today, but I got lost in a really good Balatro run on Blue Deck. Um and this morning I was actually it occupied some of my time this morning. I also got lost in playing Minecraft. And I did get this working, by the way. So I can actually launch the game from here. But I actually want to, before I talk about how it is actually the end of America, Maoists eating good slash bad slash whatever, because unitary executive theory is just real now. Uh, I sometimes I will start a new survival world. I don't do this frequently because I usually like to pursue a survival world for a decent amount of time. Because I feel like there's a lot to do in each different like survival world in Minecraft. You know, you build a house that's unique to the world. You can build your own little setup with your storage, your cooking area, your farm, your whatever. And that can give you a solid base to just go exploring, all to your heart's content, right? You have a stable food source, you have some decent equipment, and the world is your oyster. And so that's what I've been doing. In that Minecraft world, I have my house is like hello, did my game's not loading. Well, whatever. Um, it worked when I tried this last time, so I'll just have to, turn off the Wii U or something. But yeah, my house is set up in a desert right next to an ocean and a badlands biome. There's like a desert between the two, and it's not just a beach, it is a proper desert. Damn it, I'm gonna have to do this again. Um, and I was setting out to explore a map. Through, there are some villages nearby. I was able to like plunder some paper, I guess, and I also have a massive supply of sugarcane. Uh, And so I just used the paper that I had already on an empty map that I got from one of the villages and blew it up to scale, filled in the edges of the map, go around in a big square. And then I decided, okay, so since the Badlands biome is right next to my house, right? I may as well go into the Badlands. It's Minecraft Steve and Imperialist. Yes. May as well go into the Badlands and start exploring around the edges. I usually like to maintain a sense of direction and orientation. I'll like explore the edges of a biome so that I understand that there's this basic shape that if I stay within, I know where I am relative to other stuff. The thing is, right? As it went on, it became clear that I thought I saw a number of like different smaller Badlands biomes on my map. No, it was one enormous Badlands biome. Like, my house is kind of in the top left corner. So like if my camera is the map, my house is about here somewhere, and then the Badlands starts right there, and then you go off the edge this way, and it continues for about a mile. Right? The Badlands continues for about a mile, or about like a couple kilometers this way. And then I start, like, I'm exploring off the edge of my map completely, all these, twists and turns where the biomes meet. I come down, I emerge about where, like, my logo is, down south. And then I keep going, and then I start exploring to the south. The Badlands biomes extend down past the south edge of the map for several more kilometers. And I explore down that way. I spend several in-game days doing this. It took me about 3 hours. And eventually I emerge, let's see, if you're looking at my webcam, about here, if you can see where my hand is, about here I emerge. And so then I start, like, winding up and around that way. and the Badlands also extends that way. So there's about a kilometer, like 2 kilometers worth of Badlands to the east, 5 or 6 kilometers worth, or maybe even more, of Badlands to the south, just as many to the west. So, like, I go to the west and spend another good half hour, 45 minutes just walking around the edge of the Badlands because there's like 4 more kilometers of or actually more like 5 or 6 kilometers of Badlands out that way. And then I emerge back near the northeastern corner of the map, and I'm back at the at the desert where my house is. You know, there's like a desert that kind of extends over the length of the top of the map. It's this relatively thin desert that's spuriously penetrated by the Badlands, and there's an ocean next to it. And then there was also, it wasn't done, there was about half a kilometer of Badlands. You see where like the top of my head is? Right about here, there's like a bit of the Badlands that extends north for about half a kilometer. All of that was one Badlands biome on a default world type Minecraft seed. This was not a large biomes Minecraft seed. It was actually incredible. It was a ton of fun. I felt like my man DJ Khaled. I was suffering from success. My inventory was full of goodies from all of the ruined portals and villages and like mine shafts that I found. That's what happens when you get random. Well, that's the thing. I've never seen a Badlands biome that big outside of a large biomes world before. It was genuinely dumbfounding, and it was also like it just had me awestruck because the mountains were so huge. You know? Whoa, what's going on? My capture card is not showing the screen. Hello? Uh-oh. I have to figure this out. Properties. There we go. Got her. So that's what I was doing today. Is a whole bunch of that. It was quite an adventure. And now, like, that was just the edges of the Badlands biome. The entire Badlands biome can't be contained in a, like, maximum size Minecraft map, which is crazy. And like I mentioned, my inventory was so full, I actually couldn't go back. I couldn't, you know, see what all was in the villages that I saw, and like, what it was in the mine shafts and the ruined portals. Like, I have to go back for that stuff. You know, and you know, it provided a lot of, you didn't have a spare chest? Dog, I can only carry so much in my inventory. I was mobile the whole time. Yeah, I have storage, but you gotta understand, I'm like 10 kilometers or for the whole duration of this. I'm 10 kilometers or more away from my house. You carry a mobile chest, place it down to get it later. Well, yeah, but I might as well just visit those landmarks later. Because the landmarks that I refer to, the villages, the ruined portals, the mine shafts, all the stuff is in chests there anyway. It's not going anywhere. Plus, it's an excuse to explore the Badlands more, which, as I was about to mention, I didn't even finish exploring the Badlands. That was just the edges of it. I still have to go and explore the interior core of that gigantic morass of Badlands. So, you know, that was fun. And I had a bed with me the whole time, so I could skip the night at my convenience. There we go. Nice. Let's go. We're back in it. All right. Hate how they made beds mandatory. I mean, beds were, like, they're not mandatory. It's just incredibly easy if you use one. In fact, if you're here's the thing, right? If you're underground, you don't want a bed because more monsters spawn in caves during the daytime. And also, it's not like the rate of monster spawn. You're literally punished if you don't. Oh, you mean phantoms? Yeah, I just every time I create a world, I just disable phantoms. Fuck that. If they're given, like, so long as they give me the option to turn off the part of the game that punishes you for not using a bed, insofar as like those phantoms that will fucking kill you, I will disable that, because I genuinely think that is antithetical to how Minecraft is supposed to be played. Because, you know, you remember back in the alpha and beta versions of Minecraft, or at least very early beta, beds didn't exist. You had to stay up the whole goddamn night. And it made Minecraft a hell of a lot more intimidating, especially because there were subtle ways in which combat was different. You know, you couldn't sprint. You couldn't, there was no shields. There was no blocking. If something hit you, you had to just take it, you know? You didn't heal naturally, you know? Armor was a lot less durable. And the zombies could literally hit you from further away. There were a lot of things that made old Minecraft very difficult and stuff. After a certain point, mobs aren't a threat to you anymore, so you just forget to sleep eventually. Yeah, in a sense, yeah. And that's happened to me on occasion, but I usually, for the sake of being able to like adventure for longer, and also for not wanting to run into a random creeper that blows a hole in the landscape, I usually skip the night. Yeah. Sometimes I miss those old versions of Minecraft, but at the same time, I don't think I would change modern Minecraft to more resemble those old versions, except for taking phantoms out of the game. Those fuckers should never have been added in the first place. That should have been relegated to a mod that encourages you to sleep at night, so it would have been a fun gimmick and a novelty, but people could, by default, they would play without it. Kind of weird how they made villagers an entirely different species from your character. I mean, like, if you dive into the Minecraft lore, sure, but you just kind of, like, I guess I always just kind of assumed, oh, I'm a human, they're weird-looking humans. Sure. You think they added the phantom setting because of complaining? No, I think they planned to add that and just ignored player feedback. Half the features that get added to... Half of the, like, features and mobs and stuff that have gotten added to Minecraft within, like, a certain period of time, I think that it was just the devs' plan for the game, or somebody's idea that they didn't care about the feedback from the player base. So I guarantee you, the people do not care for phantoms. But at the same time, I do appreciate that, like, yeah, you still have the option to just turn that shit off. God dang it, the decimal settings, or whatever. I can change that later. Anyways. That was just in the light of me talking about my Minecraft adventures this morning. Now that I'm in game, we can probably shift topics to the meat of the matter. We're done with the happy stories, unfortunately. Because of what all's been happening lately, and because of my workflow, I haven't been able to even start watching Invincible, which I want to, so no spoilers. Dang, had to. Oh no, I didn't mean to hit that guy. Ah, I bumped into him, realized I was probably going to get red shelled, and then just used my star on reaction. Not great decision making on my part. Trust me, you want to binge it? Trust me when I say that I don't. Even media that I like, I don't binge. I can't analyze media if I'm binging it, because it's too much. Usually the pace at which I watch media... I did this for JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Long-ass series, but I exercised the discipline to watch 1, maybe 2 episodes per day maximum. And that way I was actually able to enjoy it more. I was able to remember more of the show. That's how I watch media series. You know? Okay. I'm getting fucked up. I try not to binge so that the experience lasts longer. Yeah, that's part of it. But like ultimately, for me, it is just a matter of like I want to remember it and I want to feel like I'm coherent the whole time. JoJo's Bizarre Adventure is funny how much of it feels like Saturday cartoon levels of it doesn't matter. Yeah. JoJo's is a really whack. It truly lives up to its name that it is JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. Anywho. Like I said, what weird villain are we fighting this time? Yeah, we're fighting fucking Michael Jackson. I don't know. He always did that shit with the stands. Look, I'm here to talk about politics, and John Politics just died. is the analogy I'm using to spring into this. Does it work? Probably not. Don't think about it too hard. I'm a streamer. I'm just trying to fucking shoot the shit so that you can find some aspect of comedy in the decline of the United States, one of the most influential countries in the world. Yesterday, December 7th, 1941. That's not true. Nonetheless, it is a date that will live in infamy. For the reason of the continuing resolution that passed. Democracy died with thunderous applause. More like crippling apathy. That's the thing, right? George Lucas, time has only fucking vindicated this man when he made, Revenge of the Sith. As bad of a movie or as it was, like as many problems as it had, like he was cooking when he made that shit, the story of the fall of the Weimar Republic, except he just made it America coded, right? Democracy died not with a bang, not even with thunderous applause and roaring approval, but with a whimper, with complete and total apathy. I know we've been on this road before. I've mentioned that liberalism is a dead ideology, it really is just a question of socialism or barbarism, and that it's only a matter of time until liberal democracy is put in its procedural grave. But we've now reached that point. To explain what I mean in more specifics, yesterday there was a vote on what's called a continuing resolution. Now, because Congress is fucking dysfunctional, they can't just pass a regular-ass budget law that governs how the U.S. spends money for the next several years. No. Instead, what happens is there's this grand deliberation between both parties about what's called a continuing resolution. They continue the budget from what it was last year, at least until they can come up with a more official budget, right? That's the CR. When people say the CR, that's what they mean. And if something like that doesn't get passed, the government shuts down. A government shutdown means that any services that are rendered by the federal government stop working. Anything that was the purview of the federal government no longer happens because the federal government is shut down. Leads to a lot of furloughs. Generally, government shutdowns are bad. However, this CR was so fucking awful that it made the government shutdown the preferable option, because the CR effectively, what I've heard it most frequently compared to is a little thing called the Enabling Act. The Enabling Act in 1933, I believe, in Weimar Germany, cemented the transition from the Weimar Republic to the Nazi regime by consolidating tons of power in the executive branch controlled by Adolf Hitler and the Nazi Party. And basically, the legislature voted themselves into complete irrelevancy and gave, full dictatorial powers to Adolf Hitler. Literally, if you watch Star Wars, if you need a media comparison to that effect, it's like in Attack of the Clones when they vote to give emergency powers to Supreme Chancellor Palpatine, which enables him to just stay past his term and do whatever he wants, right? That was this bill. And every single Democrat understood this bill fucking sucked, right? Even the ones that voted for it knew that it sucked. The difference is those ones didn't care. People were calling their senators. I was calling my senators. I was telling them, vote no on this shit. Do not let this pass. Whatever happens, the consequences of the government shutting down is that these services go away temporarily. The consequences of this resolution passing is these services go away forever, and democracy dies with it. Because the continuing resolution in this case is basically a rubber stamp on the actions of the Trump administration. Trump and Elon Musk, particularly under the artifice of Doge, have been cutting money like crazy. Just unconstitutional budget cuts left and right. They're in the Treasury. They're in the, Social Security Administration. They're in the Education Department. They're stripping money from every single person that needs it in this country. And this was Congress's opportunity to say, hey, look, if you're going to do that, we can just shut down the whole government so that these services get frozen temporarily. That at least disables you from doing that. You have to, that's basically forcing them to play our game. We're going to make the budget. You're not going to pass your budget because you need our support to do so. It was the one lever of power that Democrats had in Congress to make Congress relevant again, make it act on something for once to potentially save Medicaid, which was facing billions of dollars, hundreds of billions of dollars of spending cuts as a result of the CR. Medicaid being healthcare specifically for poor people and disabled people. And the Democrats literally gave it up without a fight. Chuck Schumer, the day before this happened, he is the Senate Democrat leader, announced that he would be supporting this resolution in the most fucking dishonest way I've ever seen a politician do. And you have to clear a pretty high bar for me to say that. Right? Because we know the reputation, the well-earned reputation of politicians in this country and elsewhere. Chuck Schumer went on national TV to say the American people don't want the government to shut down, blatantly contradicting all the data that was available. The Republicans want to shut down the government, as Republicans on Twitter and in the administration are openly celebrating, both behind closed doors and in public, that the head of the Democratic Party in the Senate has announced his vocal and public support for this continuing resolution that just gives literally a blank check to the Trump administration. That's the what. Now I need to touch upon the why, which I did a little bit. Chuck Schumer was able to get 10 Democrats, or 9 or 10 Democrats or so, to vote in support of this bill. It got past the first legislative hurdle in the Senate, which requires a 2/3, or not 2/3, a 60% majority in order to pass. And then the Republicans just voted to pass the bill by way of a simple majority, without a fight. Like I said, it was the one lever of power that Democrats had, and they gave it up for free, for nothing. Forget liberals have no spine. Oh, there are some liberals that have a spine. There's just always conveniently enough liberals that are completely spineless and bought out by Wall Street and Silicon Valley that it doesn't matter. The other, 38 or 39 Democrats? Yeah, there were, it was something like 39 or 40 Democrats, 38, 39, that voted no on this. And they showed plenty of backbone insofar as a politician is capable of. But all of that doesn't matter if there are enough Democrats that are spineless that will support the bad thing and the bad guys win. This is the rotating villain strategy. The party as a whole might not be fully comprised of, spineless, completely cucked out and bought and paid for individuals, but there are enough of those people every single time for the Democratic Party to conveniently torpedo anything good that they were planning on doing, supposedly, and to enable anything bad that they nominally oppose. And as a result of this, I do think that, this is the death knell of the Democrats. The Democratic Party is dead, and Chuck Schumer killed it. Or rather, there are a lot of things that killed it, and Chuck Schumer finally put it in the grave. And I think that's for the better. Especially because if this is the caliber of leadership we were given. Yeah, welcome to Fascism Planet. This, the phrase that when you give an inch, they take a mile. Especially with fascists. This is why appeasement doesn't work. I've just one more time, bro. I swear, if we just give Germany Austria, if we just let them have the Sudetenland, if we just let them have the Danzig corridor, That shit doesn't work, because if you give them an inch, they take a mile. And that is literal in the sense that there's not a second inch to give. They don't ask you for another concession. They just take it because they know that you're not going to stop them. Yeah, throw them a bone and they want the whole carcass. And you know, to use that analogy, it's like they don't even have to ask for the carcass. They just take it because they know you're not going to stop them anyway. If you're willing to give them one bone, then they'll just drag the whole carcass away. And that's exactly what they did. I mentioned that the continuing resolution applies for 6 months. Because of the way that, like, procedure works, you know, there still has to be the, like, more official super duper budget, whatever, that happens later in the year. So between now and September, there's about 6 months where this blank check applies. But let's be real here. We know that it's not going to just be that 6 months. Democrats showed no fight on this. They gave the inch, and now the fascists, with a blank check, complete control over the executive, and a rubber stamp from Congress, and a completely captured Supreme Court of the United States, are going to do whatever they want. And by the time Congress has anything to say about it, it will already have been too late. It was too late yesterday when the vote happened. You know? Emergency powers, such and such, whatever they call it, martial law, you know, say goodbye to anything that was left of checks and balances, you know? Like, it's gone. It's dead. Liberal democracy was a very interesting experiment. I think it had value while it lasted. But in the United States, at least, that experiment is no more, and I think, you know, we definitely learned some stuff from this, but now we're going to have to stare down the barrel of a fascist federal government, an unfettered fascist federal government. It'll have to contend with the states, but it will face no opposition at the federal level, especially with spending matters, which means Americans especially, this goes out to you guys, say goodbye to Social Security. There's going to be no more retirement. Not publicly anyway. Say goodbye to Medicare. Seniors will not be able to get healthcare. Say goodbye to Medicaid. Disabled and poor people will not be able to get healthcare, even more than they already couldn't. Say goodbye to the Department of Education. I've made a video on that. Say goodbye to public transit. The Federal Department of Transportation is planning on targeting state and local public transit projects. Say goodbye to affordable housing. Say goodbye to anything good that had federal money coming into it. This country is going to go backwards several decades in the span of a few months. And I'm not exaggerating when I say that. You know, we're already, like, you can already look at red states that have basically the quality of living of third world countries. You can look at your West Virginias, your Arkansas, your Louisiana, your, you know, wherever else. It's not going to get better. And in fact, they're going to be, the United States on the whole is going to come to resemble that more, because guess what, motherfucker? When you defund public services and strip power away from the body of the people, you know, the body politic, life gets worse. Their lives tend to get worse. The country starts to resemble a shithole more and more, you know? It'd be funny if America became part of Canada through his reverse of what Trump wants. Yeah, United States becomes the 21st province or something. The biggest fucking province in all of Canada. But the reason I say all this, the reason I say all of this stuff is to emphasize, first of all, the duplicity of the liberal. You know, the institutions of liberalism will fail us time and again until there's nobody left for it to fail. Yeah, and they'll tell us how rude we are. It wasn't very nice of you to critique Chuck Schumer. Did you know that he's Jewish, actually, or something, which makes you anti-Semitic? Wow, that's crazy. Shut the fuck up. This is basically... Yeah, you know, I don't usually want to use the language of we're screwed. Because... even though we objectively are, I don't want people to feel like there's nothing they can do. The reason, I think it's worth highlighting, the reason that people feel distraught when we get the message that we're screwed is because life is still worth living anyway. It's just going to get harder. This is a buckle the fuck up moment. All right? I think, you know, for seeing this and some other news about ICE disappearing people, that it's not just one guy anymore. It's not just Mahmoud Khalil. They've started disappearing more people. The gloves are off, and we are about to get the beating of a lifetime. We will survive it, but it's not going to be good. You know? Hilarious how those people talk about anti-Semitism as they aren't the kind of people that would have sold out Jews in Nazi Germany. Oh yeah, for sure. In fact, one thing I wanted to highlight about the behavior of the Democrats in the Senate, the Democrats now are actually more collaborationists and more of Nazi sympathizers and collaborators than the fucking German liberals were in the 1930s. I mentioned the Enabling Act. At the time, the German liberals were the SPD, and this bill was up for a vote in the German legislature. None of the SPD members of parliament, none of the SPD politicians voted for it. They all voted against it. Despite all of their ineffectiveness and whatever, they all said, no, we're not fucking voting for this. The Democrats did vote for this. There were, like, a good 1/3 of the Democrats, or like 1/4 at the very least, of the Democrats in the Senate voted for our equivalent of the Enabling Act. You know it, like, you know we're cooked when the Liberal Party in the United States is being outflanked to the left by the Nazi-era German Social Democrats. Like, it's that bad. They were fed propaganda. No. That's the thing about the Democrats. They just don't care. It's not a matter of them believing such and such. They don't believe anything. Chuck Schumer did this because he, like, almost certainly because he got, like, a memo or a tap on the shoulder, proverbially, from his connections on Wall Street or something like that. He alone accounts for 15% of all the donations from Wall Street to Congress. Not to the Senate, to Congress. 15% of that Wall Street money just goes to Chuck Schumer alone. You know, and the other Democrats are probably similarly bought off either by Wall Street or whoever, you know, whatever other industry. It's not a matter of them believing X, Y, or Z. It's a matter of them not believing anything. You know, it is literally the politicians that voted for this, the Democrats especially, are literally just the caricature of politicians that don't believe anything about anything and are only in it for their own personal and professional gain. Hundreds of millions of people be damned. Yeah, Chuck the Wall Street cuck. No way I passed him on the line like that. That's dirty. Don't you know higher powers don't want anyone close to communism in power? That's true. I mean, and that's why this happened, right? The reason I hate the Democrats so much, I know there are some liberals that watch my content, you know, Godspeed to you. The reason I talk so much shit about the Democrats, the reason I hate them so much, is not because I'm on the same side as Republicans. It's because they're on the same side as Republicans. The Democrats and the Republicans fundamentally are both parties of the business class. And that business class has been consolidating more and more and more. And that's reflected in those two, in the political parties. If they were ever a left party, the police would call them terrorists and kill them all. More like they would have stopped getting money from their donors. And the leadership is uniquely cucked to the donors. The New York Democrats basically control the Democratic Party, and they are really bad because Wall Street is in New York. That's where all those fucking finance connections are, outside of, like, Silicon Valley in California. At the institutional level, like, that's why the Democratic Party is the way it is. They didn't you know, they just didn't want to upset their donors. And their donors are like a class of people that has enormous influence over both the Democrats and the Republicans. Oh, got tapped by the FBI. Yeah, it's you know, curious. Capital is always like the American institutions of liberalism. You know, the federal agencies or whatever, always a lot more hasty. God, excuse me, sorry. Always a lot more hasty to combat the left-wing political activists than fucking right-wing terrorists. You know? And yes, I do know about the Black Panthers as well. I didn't get to do the sand hop. Wait. Whoa! That was a crazy bump. These guys are doing such precise strats that they're actually fucking up more frequently than I am, which is kind of funny. I say as I go for the sand hop and fuck it up. I mean, that's part of, it's like peak versus consistency, right? I'm gonna use this here, just to get me through this section. Ah! Dang. I just kind of happened to bounce that way. Oh, perfect. Ain't no way? What a finish. 1920s KKK, another fun. Dr. King asked for him for equal rights. No, we must tap and send death threats to this dangerous terrorist. Yeah, I mean, basically. It's because the KKK weren't a threat to, like, in addition to a lot of federal agencies being full of fucking racists, you know, like the FBI and CIA, whatever, being full of fucking racists, particularly the FBI, it's also because Dr. King was actually a threat to the bottom line of capital. He advocated for, you know, workers' rights in addition to the rights of racial minorities. He's whitewashed. A lot of the socialism of Dr. King is whitewashed out of what you learn in the history books. You know? But the KKK were no such threat to private capital. They were willing to protect private capital if it meant protecting, you know, the superiority of the white man over the black man, which is very frequently how that racial animus was generated from the top down. It was, you know, it existed from the bottom up too, but it was very convenient for the ruling class that, you know, you could pit the black worker against the white worker, or the white worker against the black worker, you know. Nah, I'm not getting an item here. Imagine Dr. King didn't die. If Dr. King didn't die, he would be despised today. And I'm not joking. I genuinely do think that if Dr. King was still alive, they would hate him. Yeah, and in fact, I think Dr. King would have gotten the Malcolm X treatment in a little in a way, right? Like they teach Malcolm X as this like very controversial, you know, figure and whatever because the FBI were unsuccessful in assassinating, or because, frankly, just because he was alive for longer and was a you know, present force in civil rights activism for longer. But like, if Dr. King were still alive, they would be talking about him the same way they talk about Malcolm X. And by they, I mean, like, you know, K-12 history books and stuff. I'm playing a really dangerous game. Maybe not. Everybody died behind me and I get second. Cool. Yeah, how do I finish this up? Yeah, I have a New York Times article. Normally, I fucking despise the New York Times, but there are 10 Democrats that voted in favor of invoking cloture on the bill. This was the legislative hurdle that needed to be cleared for this budget bill, the CR, to be properly voted on. 10 Democrats voted in favor of this, and I will now say who they are. Catherine Cortez Masto from Nevada, Richard Durbin from Illinois, also known as Dick Durbin, John Fetterman from Pennsylvania, Kirsten Gillibrand from New York, Maggie Hassan from New Hampshire, Angus King from Maine. He's an independent, but he works with the Democrats. Gary Peters from Michigan, Brian Schatz from Hawaii, Chuck Schumer from New York, and Jan Shaheen from New Hampshire. Every other Democrat voted no, and all the Republicans voted yes. Those Democrats were all they needed. They sold the country up the river, man. Like, that's it. Oh, what is this track? This is crazy. Is this a Hot Wheels track? I feel like I recognize this. Why? What is this doing? No, this is a Mario Kart track. This has to be in the Mario Kart games. And news on the secret police. Ah, yes. Yeah, I wanted to get to that. I have a news article to that effect, so, you know, I'll have to end that previous segment, or that previous thing, if it's a segment, in editing, like, after I sort of conclude there. But, yeah, I'll be sure to get to that news article about ICE disappearing more people once I finish this race. I can't exactly open the link right now. You know, the secret police do be secretive and policing. Except, well, no, I guess ICE counts as a secret police. I was gonna say, you know, does it count as a secret police if you don't really know about them? But then I remembered, like, well, people know about, and people knew about at the time even the KGB in Russia. People know about, you know, FSB today, or like whatever secret police is in the other countries that are like really, really authoritarian. You know, they're kind of a known quantity. You know, so yeah, I'd say it counts. ICE indeed is very secret police-esque. That had to be a frame perfect shock dodge. That's insane. Imagine. Literally like we're taking away your green card because we can. Yeah. 2 frames, but still. Oh, okay. Few milliseconds off being perfect, yeah. Let's take a look at this link that I have. Yeah, here we go. This is a post on Blue Sky that highlights a portion of an article from New Hampshire Public Radio. So, love the framing, by the way. Green card holder from New Hampshire interrogated at Logan Airport, detained. Looks like a colorized Nazi image. What, the, Oh, the police officers guarding the Tesla building. Yeah, I did see that image. So these highlighted paragraphs here. Let's here we go. What's his name? Fabian Schmidt. Okay, this is short. This is close enough to the top that I can just take it from the top. A New Hampshire man with a green card was detained by immigration officers at Logan Airport and is being held by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement at the Donald Wyatt Detention Facility in Central Falls, Rhode Island. Allegedly, we know that ICE lies about where it keeps detainees, as actually some politicians have even commented on, who have direct insider knowledge of the subject, that people have been moved around and whatnot. Fabian Schmidt's family had said they were unsure of why he is being held. They said he has a recently renewed green card and no active issues in court. So there was no, such was the case also, I believe, with Mahmoud Khalil, that there was no crime being committed. They didn't even allege a crime. They were just like, yeah, we detained him because fucking whatever. Oh, that had to have been real close. Never mind, I got myself. Let's see. It was just... Oh, wait, he's this guy's from Luxembourg, apparently. Schmidt had been visiting Luxembourg and visited the U.S., or flew back to the U.S. on Friday. Or wait, no, he's not from Luxembourg. Maybe he is from Luxembourg. I don't know. Look, I don't want to speculate. Sorry. Shouldn't have even said anything. Because racing in this lobby and reading an article at the same time is hard enough as it is. His partner had gone to pick him up at the airport, at Logan Airport, and waited for hours before calling the authorities. So he didn't even get to his partner in this case. Yeah, Jewish man with German citizenship detained by the Gestapo kind of vibes. Although they did describe him as New Hampshire man, which is not the worst thing I've ever seen in terms of framing, but the article title is really, really bad framing, it does a lot to sanitize ICE, especially because of what they actually did to him. Again, something that I can't really get to until this race is done. God damn it, I hit the wall. Yeah, dang. It was just said that his green card was flagged, said Astrid Sr., his mother. She said she didn't hear from her son directly until Tuesday when she learned he'd been hospitalized. Sr. described Schmidt being violently interrogated at Logan Airport for hours, being stripped naked, put in a cold shower by two officials, and being put back onto a chair. She said Schmidt told her immigration agents pressured him to give up his green card. She said he was placed on a mat in a... I love the constant emphasis on she said, as if oh, well, she could be lying. Fuck you, NHPR. He was placed on a mat in a bright room with other people at the airport with little food or water, suffered sleep deprivation, and was denied access to his medication for anxiety and depression. He hardly got anything to drink. And then he wasn't feeling very well, and he collapsed, said Sr. And that's a direct quote from her. He was transported by ambulance to Mass General Hospital. He didn't know it at the time, but he also had influenza. So he was sick, they stripped him naked, threw him in a cold shower, put his ass in a chair, and did numerous other acts of torture, including food, water, and sleep deprivation. For hours. Or actually, not even hours. It would be days, right? That's how long this had to have gone on for him to... He physically collapsed. He was at the airport for hours. And then presumably he was... yeah, okay, they said earlier he was transported to a detention facility in Rhode Island. They took him to a black site and tortured him. And he wasn't even alleged to have done anything wrong. They just said, oh yeah, your green card got flagged or something. Why? Well, we're not going to tell you. Give us your green card. And also, we're going to torture you for days. And nobody's going to know where you are or what happened to you. This is also known as disappearing. Wouldn't be too surprised if the ICE agents were just beating off to this. Yeah, I like knowing the kind of people that that are ICE agents, that tend to be ICE agents, that's probably their angle. Like, again, it lines up with, like, there was no legal or procedural justification for doing this, apart from they can. They just did it just because. You know? Because they felt like it. Because it's fun, I guess. Okay. Everybody's dying, so I'm in first now. Then they'll say they were just following orders. Oh, yeah, they're following those orders fucking gleefully, and then they're gonna invoke the Nuremberg defense. Shit's not looking good. I'm starting to see why so many Nazi war criminals were able to get away with stuff like the Nuremberg defense. As many of them that got, like, sentenced to death or sentenced to life or whatever, you know, it's hard for me to imagine in this state of society, like, any of these guys are facing accountability for this, because they, like, just have the authority to do basically whatever they want. Nice shot. Third? Second? Like, coal miner? Yeah. Yeah, absolute shells of human being. Okay. Let's see. On Tuesday, Schmidt was transported to the regional headquarters for ICE in Burlington, Massachusetts, and then transferred to the Wyatt facility. He was transferred... Oh, he was transferred twice. So they moved him around more than once. The family, including his partner, who's a cardiologist in Nashua, have acquired attorneys and been working with the German consulate in hopes of having released on bail. Okay, so he's German? So he's not from Luxembourg, he's from Germany. Lefty misinfo. Schmidt and his mother moved to the US in 2007 and received green cards in 2008. He moved from California to New Hampshire in 2022. Yeah, I would not be surprised if this guy, even at this stage, God, like, being in contact with a lawyer might not even be enough to save this guy completely. Like, he's probably gonna be okay, but at this point, there's a very real question that anybody who goes into ICE detention could just come out in a body bag and you wouldn't know it until you see the body bag. Senior described her son as a hardworking electrical engineer with a partner and an 8-year-old daughter who are both U.S. citizens. Fabian said to me that he feels he's very fearful and is frightened. Yeah, understandable. Fuck you, NHPR. Can a green card holder be deported? It's a complicated question, but some protections exist. Fuck off. Oh my god, I hate American news media so much. Never let anybody tell you that there's such a thing as unbiased media when even, like, NPR, this is, like, NHPR, New Hampshire Public Radio, is a component part of NPR. That's publicly funded, not state media. That's, like, as good as it gets. And they're like, can you deport a fucking legal resident of this country who literally has all the rights of a citizen except they can't vote? And they're like, well, it's complicated. I fucking hate the news. I hate the media. You know when Donald Trump said the media is the enemy of the people? He didn't know what he was cooking, but goddamn he was cooking. He meant it in the way that, like, I wish all the media would just say what I want them to say and stop being mean and also do exactly what I tell them to do. But in reality, like, yeah, the media will just do shit like this. The fucking access journalism plague has everybody down to the, like, even the more reputable ones going along to get along to such an extent that they'll see something that is, like, as unconstitutional as, like, ripping up the document itself, and then they'll say, is this illegal? Well, it's a complicated question, but it might be. Like, holy fucking shit. Manufacture that consent, baby. Drive us right into the arms of Nazism. This is why this is part of why it was so easy for the fascists to just walk right in, and the liberals gave them the keys to the kingdom. They did, like, there's no reason for them to be doing this. This is self-censorship. This is, like, capitulation beyond, like, any level that is necessary, you know? It only got to this point because they, like, kept doing this strategy of appeasement every single time. They kept, like, giving air to the side of the debate that was obviously incorrect, and not saying, obviously this is incorrect, you know? And like, this is what it results in. When you have this, like, plague of, like, both sidesing everything and falsely equivocating, people should have rights versus we want to torture everybody just for sport. You know, you result in shit like this. You, like, how do we be halfway between 30% Hitler and 100% Hitler? I guess we'll have to be, let's see, 70, we'll have to be 65% Hitler. That's an even split between 30% and 100%. That's the even, like, halfway point. This is the logical end state of all of that. This is why you can't do media that's neutral and pretend unbiased, you know? When media pretends that it's unbiased, it always leads to this. This shit gets me so mad. Like, this is... I bet before the government made it, I bet they were both siding the Nazis. Yes, they were! You can go find New York Times articles from the 1930s where they play devil's advocate for the National Socialist Party in Germany. And the American Bund, to a lesser extent. This shit fills me with so much hate for liberal institutions. Again, not because I'm on the same side of the fascists, but because they're on the same side as the fascists. Both sides of bias, actually. Yeah, feigning neutrality is a bias. Every position you take, even the refusal to take a position, is itself a bias. And you have to acknowledge that you're engaging in that. You know? If you were honest and said, now obviously this is fucking illegal, and if it through some obscure mechanism isn't, it should be, because holy shit, green card holders, like, I mean, just objectively, if you read the letter of the law and interpret it as, you know, as like any sane legal scholar would, yeah, that's illegal. But then also, if, like, in some insane world, if somebody were able to make, like, a super mental gymnastics argument about, like, oh yeah, it's actually legal to deport green card residents and citizens, obviously you wouldn't fucking air that argument, because those are the words of somebody who clearly wants to torture and deport green card holders and citizens. You know, you would only air an evil talking point if you're okay with evil. You know? That's the only reason that you would do this. You know? Or at least okay enough with it to succumb to whatever perceived pressure you think exists. But again, this is like... They're like doing this shit just unprompted. I think you guys get the point. ICE, this is not the first person that ICE has detained and tortured and disappeared from the public. It won't be the last. In fact, there have been more. This was just one example that was like really fucking graphic. There have been more student activists that have been disappeared by ICE in recent time. Like, the disappearances are actually growing so numerous in such a short time, I can't talk about them all. You know? ICE was already like the most Hitlerite institution in the United States. Never should have existed to begin with. You know, and they were like doing all sorts of reprehensible acts of torture to people who came to the United States as immigrants, you know? But a lot of that was hidden under a veil of like proceduralism at the United States border. Like, a lot of it was not in the public eye because they knew how bad it would look. They still know how bad it looks for them, presumably, to be disappearing random people that they don't like. They just don't care because they have no, like, institutional shackles on them anymore. They can just do whatever they want. You know? So not only are the disappearances becoming more numerous and frequent, they're becoming more visible. Picture Batman kidnapping somebody? Yeah, basically. Oh my god, dude. This is probably going to be a shorter stream than usual. I might only go for a couple more races. I just wanted to communicate just how Jover it is right now. You know, the United States, not a great place to be. The further away you are from DC, probably the better. The further away you are from the southern United States border, probably the better. You know? As far as you can get in America? Yeah, and so even though things are going to get bad, you know, probably, like, you'll be able to live. Everybody in this country will probably be able to live to some degree, but that doesn't mean everybody will live. That makes sense. The state this has me in is kind of cooking my brain. I'll be 100% on that front. My local senator said, "Hello, fascist. Do you like destroying the country?" It was a voicemail. They'll probably hear that and not care, but yeah, I mean, this, like, both senators from Alaska are Republicans, I think. There might be one Democratic rep or senator from Alaska, but, you know, yeah, Republicans deserve to hear that. Even though they don't care, they deserve to know that it was them that destroyed the country and made everybody's lives worse. They deserve to have that repeated to them over and over and over by their constituents. Even though the, you know, political apathy and the abstemious behavior of liberals and the outright, like, active maliciousness of fascists got us to this point. Don't let that inspire within you apathy, right? So societies have survived crises and collapses before, and we will survive this. It's just gonna take a lot of work, a lot of elbow grease. I'm holding on to this green shell. Ooh, okay. It's gonna be so funny when Pride Month happens for companies. I mean, they're not really gonna... Why they're even putting it on the news, to make you discouraged? Yes, that's why you get blasted with so much of this shit. Is partly to make you feel that sense of despair that prevents you, that acts as a paralyzing force to prevent you from doing what you can to make things better, to make life better for yourself, for people around you, for your community, for the country, for whatever. Yeah, again, the power that they have is ultimately, you know, it is susceptible to crumble eventually. I will bring up again just how quickly everybody saw the class divide when Luigi Mangione allegedly killed Brian Thompson, and the force of the state acted so swiftly to decry it, and they venerated the CEO who was responsible for thousands, tens of thousands of deaths every year. You saw it, and they were like the meme where they spit the coffee out of their mouth. Yeah, it was that one incident occurred, and then just like that, all of the narrative about you know, all of the meritocracy narrative, all of the wool that had been pulled in front of people's eyes about like the nature of the class divide and whatever, and the myth that like, oh, billionaires obviously deserve their wealth and whatever, had a giant gash in it, and people could see clear through. It's not gone, of course. Like the propaganda machine is still churning away, but the point is to emphasize that they have to keep it churning away, because if they let up for a moment, if something unexpected happens, all of a sudden they can't manufacture that consent anymore. The consent is no longer manufactured if they stop actively churning it out day in, day out, 24-hour news cycle. That's why all of the news sources are so, willing to do this, because like otherwise they wouldn't be able to preserve the existing social order. That makes sense. 20 years, Luigi shows up in a Marvel comic. Bold of you to assume that Marvel comics are going to exist in 20 years. If anything, he would show up as a villain, because, and it'd be, like, universally panned as a comic book. I'm cracked. Nice. Planning to kill all the billionaires in the universe? Yeah, dude. They hate to see a based king winning. That's not gonna hit me. Or it is. But the shock kind of helped me there. I'm actually gonna go for one of these. Yeah. I think that was a good decision. No! Okay. I almost front ran the whole race on Rainbow Road and got away with it. Now I got blued once, and I am in 7th place. And I passed 2 people. Everybody's fallen off. Oh my god. Everybody's fallen off. I probably raced the best out of anybody in this room on Rainbow Road this time, but the best racer doesn't always win the race, and that's okay, because that's Mario Kart. It'd be boring if the best racer always won. Buying more beer and playing with my cat, what happened? I talked about the ICE disappearances that have happened. How ISIS just started disappearing people and have faced no consequence, and how the media is enabling it, like legitimately. I don't know if you've seen this NHPR article. That green card holder from New Hampshire was disappeared, tortured for several days, collapsed due to exhaustion and sleep deprivation and food deprivation and water deprivation. Had to be hospitalized afterwards, and now this news outlet is covering it, doing, he said, she said framing with the his mom's like account of his treatment by Immigration Customs Enforcement. And the second section of this article is, can a green card holder be revoked? Can a green card holder be deported? And the first sentence is, it's a complicated question, but some protections exist. This is why the media is the enemy of the people. You know? Yeah, they can't. They have to frame this a certain way. Like, all the information in here, the factual information in here, is mostly correct, with the exception of the second section. But nobody reads that far, so fucking whatever, right? All they can say is practically nothing. Yeah, and what they do say, they have to say it in a way that suggests that the ICE officers were somehow, like, in the right to do this. It's like, yeah, well, it was bad that they did that, but, you know, ultimately, I mean, he was just detained and interrogated. That's how they frame it in the title. Detained and interrogated. You know? And then you read later in the article, they bury the lead. What do they mean by detained and interrogated? Oh, he was just fucking taken from the airport and tortured for several days. And then, like, you know, they have to say, well, is it bad? Yeah, but it might have been legal, so, you know, there's that. It's like, no, you... Oh, the needless equivocation is a scourge. It's a scourge on America. It's a scourge on our media institutions. It enables the fascists. It is, you know, perpetuated to some degree consciously, to some degree unconsciously. So that the you know, the financial support keeps flowing to these news orgs, so they keep the lights on, so they maintain their connections and that shit. Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot to talk about that. Yeah, maybe I should discuss that. You know, okay, cool. 4th place. Coming off of ICE disappearing people for not having, mind you, not even having broken the law, we get this. Here, let's go to Drop Site News. They posted this on Blue Sky. Breaking. This is from yesterday at almost 4 p.m. Breaking. The U.S. Justice Department is examining whether student protests at Columbia University over the genocide in Gaza violated federal terrorism laws, Deputy AG Todd Blanche said today. Blanche's department previously said the investigation is also looking into civil rights violations stemming from the administration's expanded definition of anti-Semitism to include criticism of Israel. So, as you know, this is actually more subtle. If you can believe it, this is actually more subtle framing than the fucking NHPR article about the guy that was disappeared and tortured for 2 or 3 days. But what they're saying here is like, yeah, we're looking into whether it's illegal to protest against Israel, like literally terrorism. That means they want to make it illegal to protest Israel, which in some ways it already was. Again, something, liberalism laying the bedrock of fascism, something, you know, we were already on our way here. The fascists just carried us over the finish line with the help of the liberals. Yeah, they did break the law. Don't you know, I am the state, something, quoted from Trump? You know? It's just like, oh yeah, anti-Semitism is terrorism, which, by the way, it shouldn't be. Like, I think anti-Semitic beliefs are still protected beliefs under a country with a constitutional, like, speech protections. They shouldn't be platformed or, like, sanctioned in government. That is to say, like, you shouldn't be allowed in government, depending on which, like, if you hold beliefs that are directly hostile to democratic governance, right? Or if you're openly aspiring to kill minorities. But, like, it's not illegal to believe that, you know? And that's conceding that there is any anti-Semitism at these protests, which I've yet to see an example of. Unless you mean anti-Israel criticism. You know, you have the BDS, boycott, divest, sanctions laws that make it illegal to do those forms of protests. Can I join? Yeah, sure. Well, actually, there might not be that much point, because this was going to be my last race anyway, so I'm sorry, but, you know. Certainly, next session, if you want to join in, then you can. It's basically like, oh yeah, we want to make anti-Semitism terrorism, and by anti-Semitism we mean disapproving of Israel's actions and protesting against them, you know? Like, oh, so you just want to make it so you can black bag any protesters that are protesting the issue of the day. Like, that's it. That's all they want. At this point, it's going to be like, you killed that person, but I was trying to start rate replacement theory. Yeah, okay, you can go. Yeah, guess where else that happened? Nazi Germany, or rather Weimar Germany. A lot of some of the most visible signs of the downfall of the Weimar Republic came when hate crimes were being committed against Jewish Germans, and like Jewish businesses being busted up and people being lynched and whatever. The perpetrators of these hate crimes would be put on trial, and literally sometimes the judge would acquit them because, like, Your Honor, I only did this because Jews are poisoning the spiritual character of Germany. I did it to preserve the nation and the Volk from the Jewish threat. And the judge would literally say, yeah, okay, that checks out. And they'd be off the hook. And we're getting closer to that point where there might be in some ways enough legal capture by the far right that you know, you can just black bag any left-wing protester you want, but then somebody could actually lynch a gay person and get away with it scot-free. I don't know if we're literally at that point, but we're you know, nobody can argue that we're not approaching that point rapidly. Especially with about half a dozen disappearances in 3 days, all done by ICE, and all of whom that we have, like, any accounts of being, you know, tortured for days on end. It's not good. Rochandra, I'm sorry, you know, you came in when I was talking about some extremely heavy shit, but you gotta know that I play Mario Kart and I talk about current events. And the current events are that immigration services are just disappearing people. You would talk about heavy stuff ever since Trump won. Yeah. I try to make it so that this stream can still be enjoyable to people. I'm not like I try to avoid being like walking into any of the caricaturable, like the stereotype elements of the killjoy leftist, right? Like, because that's not what I intend to be at all. You know, that's why I try to be also Mr. Funny Streamer Man, to introduce comedy into the news coverage. Why you talk about media? Yeah, I do media segments sometimes. I talk about my Minecraft world. I talk about the shows I watch. I talk about books I read. Talk about shit like that. But politics just happens at such a rapid clip. You know? I don't know. I think I wrapped up that segment at some point about the green card holder being disappeared, so some part of this is gonna probably have to be a segment, but I don't know what, because I've already got stuff on the back burner that I've been working on. Let me see who's live that I can raid, and then I'll probably be done with stream. And by probably, I mean definitely. Oh, Hassan is live talking about, here's something interesting. Hassan is live covering something that I exactly talked about insofar as why Project 2025 would be so bad. One of the core things that the Republicans want to do is defund the NOAA and privatize it. For those not familiar, the NOAA is the National Oceanic and Atmosphere Administration or something like that, or like Oceanic and Air Administration. It's the weather service. It's and not just the weather service, it also collects all the data that the weather service uses. And I pointed out that the moment the weather service goes away, the entire Midwest and Great Plains region is fucked. Because that means no more early warning systems for tornadoes that happen seasonally. or you know, and the South is fucked too. No more early warning system for hurricanes. The weather data is going to be a lot shittier. They're not going to be able to prepare for disasters. They're not going to be able to repair after the disasters happen. Hassan's talking about that, and I also am autistic for learning about tornadoes. So here you go. Cool. I'll see y'all next time.